All right, let us say hello to Cat Zingano, a member of the Bellator featherweight division. We last saw her compete in April. She picked up a submission victory, her first Bellator finish, and she has been in the news a little bit, which we'll discuss in a moment. But she has also been featured on a docu-series on the Whistle YouTube page called Double Duty, which tells stories of professional athletes, but above all else, the importance of being a parent at the same time and trying to multitask all of those things. Cat, thank you for doing this. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. I've watched the episode a few times. I really enjoyed it. The relationship you have with your son, Braden, is amazing to see on social media. It's amazing to see on the show as well. It was really well done. How did this all happen? When were you approached with this idea to appear on the show?
A a few months ago. They just approached me and, they said that they were doing, small stories on different professional athletes that have children and, they're at the top of their game, they're elite, and, balancing being a parent with being an athlete. I'm sorry, my dog is like sprinting back and forth in the room. I don't down. No.
Yes, I have a son and a dog as well. I know the feeling very, very well, actually. So watching the doc, I found a lot of things fascinating about your story. Some of it I knew, some of it I didn't, but it seemed to me that like one of the takeaways for me is that you were literally born for the sport of MMA, not just because of the wrestling background in particular, but your ability to just have things click for you in almost the simplest ways, like especially in today's jiu-jitsu and wrestling world, because my kid does jiu-jitsu now. Even in school, it's step by step. Like, here's a technique. You got to do A, then B, then C, then D, and you end at Z. Wrestling clicked for you when someone said, hey, if you just hold this person's shoulders down on the mat for 3 seconds, you win. And once you figure that out, the rest was gravy. Would you say like the development in your MMA skill set over the years kind of mimicked that growth and evolution you experienced in wrestling?
I do. One, there was like a certain degree of pressure if I wanted to do it, that I had to be, thinking and evolving at all times, because these are these very competitive sports, and being very, there wasn't a lot of women. It was very male dominated, and that meant you had to hang, and you had to not only hang and be good in there, but you had to be a useful training partner too. So it wasn't some off round because someone drew the girl. Like, it's still around. People can remove whatever, gender issue or any kind of thing going on, because you all still contribute to each other in the exact same way. And that was really important to me to do, even if I was smaller, even if I wasn't as strong or whatever it was, to still offer those threats and still offer being, a problem people had to solve. And that was important to me to be a training partner. And that was important to me to figure out anybody in the room, because if I could figure that out, I could figure anything out, and it really became such a great thing for my mind for me to think of, to do, because, you're so involved. Like, you have to be so present. Like, you can't be somewhere else in your mind. You can't be out of the room. You have to be there. And that can sometimes give your brain a break from the rest of your life, because you really, really, really have to be focused. And that kind of gives you, this blank slate, this clean slate to come back to. And, just like anybody with anybody's outlet, and their steam valve is, giving you that break to be your best. And it really had these like multifaceted functions for me. And I loved it, and it was fun. And it was, I feel like I was meant for it. I feel like it was meant for me. Even just jumping into all these sports my whole life, I look at how every single sport contributes to MMA. If it's soccer with the kicks, if it's volleyballs with the flying shit, if it's, swimming with just the cardio and controlling your breath, like it, wrestling obviously has its throws and things, but there's gymnastics and stuff in there too that make it so much more interesting, and people love to watch about me. So it all came together perfectly, and I still love it. I still have so much fun with it, and it's definitely something cool to raise a child with, watching him have honestly more talent than I did. Like I had to work so hard and do so many reps, and like no one saw the millions of reps. No one saw me staying after practice. No one saw me with stupid questions. Like all they see is me get it. And you tell him something once and he's got it, and it's like, wow, that's cool, but that was a lot easier than how I had to do it. So, I'm grateful for my journey in it. And I'm grateful that I get to see and do it the way that I do, and that I can pass on the information I have, because it's fun to have had to figure out what works and either see it, do it, actually happen in order to be able to speak it to someone, because I don't want to tell someone to do something basic that I really don't have experience in. I need it to have experience.
I don't want to give away the entire episode because I want people to watch it, but part of your story is that you've experienced quite a bit of loss in your life. And in the doc, it talks about, in the early 2000s, you went through some loss, some really difficult things. Then you found out you were pregnant. And there's a quote I remembered when I became a parent, and I always remembered it. And it really hit me when I saw my son for the first time. It's when you become a parent, those like first few seconds, when you see your kid for the first time, you realize why you were put on the planet and like where your place is in this life. And that rang for me true 100%. And I assume that's what it was like for you as well. And that's something you still experience to this day. You found your why.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful for it, because I feel very, I guess before I had my son, like I felt like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going through life. If this doesn't go well, or that doesn't go well, oh, well, it's my consequence, but as an adult with a child, you want to provide them with everything that you can. And even if that's just information, even if that's just, safety and support. And like, that ends up being the goal. Every fight I've had, he's in there with me thinking about what do I do to protect this kid's mom? What do I do to make sure that I bring food home for us on the table? Like it feels very primitive and crazy to even say that way, because it's, not average, but, he gave me so much purpose in life. He changed my life so much for the positive. And I would have had no idea if someone just told me that I'd feel that way. It's really a feeling that you just arrive to on your own, and so completely motivating. And, it's nuts and a big deal for sure.
My son is 8. He'll be 9 in a couple months. And people have been telling me for years that it gets easier as they get older. Is that true? Because I feel like I've been told this about every single age from the terrible 2s and on. And I've been lied to every single time.
I definitely think every kid is different, and life is going to offer its different challenges at different points. Like my son was so sweet. Mommy, hi, mommy, I love you. Like until I think 3, and everyone was telling me 2 was when it started getting terrible. And then it was like, no was huge, and telling me to leave him alone. Like I was so proud. It's like, me, really? But yeah, different challenges at different ages, and definitely, it sucks when you make mistakes. It sucks when they make mistakes. Like that unconditional love piece is in there, and it always will be. And it's hard being a parent. It's hard being a fighter and a parent. These are probably the 2 hardest things that I will be able to quote throughout my whole life. It's just, you want to do everything right, and the consequences are so huge when things don't go right. And, it's the most valuable thing in my life, definitely, is to be a parent. And, yeah, I don't know where it goes. I have a sophomore in high school. He's still very much a little boy in there, but he's growing, and, talking about colleges and talking about life. And, it just comes up so fast. It really does.
What would you say was your biggest takeaway from this experience in putting this episode out? The filming, seeing the finished product, what stood out the most about it?
Just, being able to let people know where fighters come from. You know what I mean? Like, I think that there's a certain level of like respect or trying to understand what goes into it. Like, I don't think any of us really feel like celebrities. Like, I think every single one of us came from something. I think every single one of us want to fight because we have a fight that we've been fighting a very long time. And it manifested into this like thing this way because we channeled it in a certain direction at a certain time. And that focus became something that we were able to get good at, you know, whether it was somebody that, you know, dove into Kung Fu movies and that was their like outlet when they were growing up, or, you know, it was just some kind of coping skill or some kind of like healthy obsession that was better than, you know, making bad decisions, whatever. Like I haven't met a fighter that hasn't come through some, you know, some other sort of pain, some other kind of story. And, you know, I just think it's important to remember and to understand that it all comes from something, you know, and to see like, it's not always this boisterous, crazy, you know, strippers and limousines, tattoos, mohawks, like type of thing. Like it's a lot of times just, you know, someone being themselves and it just being how their life progressed. I mean, I was a quiet kid, you know, I talked when I was comfortable, but, you know, for the most part, I just really, I really just wanted to be part of things, but in a way that I kind of got to fade into the back. But doing that, I also was very observant, you know, and very introspective and very slightly hard on myself. When I saw something I wanted and I wasn't getting it, I went, you know, crazy trying to understand it. And, you know, that's why I am where I am today. Was never anything weird or aggressive. Not that it's weird, but, you know, I just think trying to understand fighters, trying to understand that everyone comes from somewhere, and fighting and like winning means so much. And it hurts so bad when you don't do everything right. And, you know, it's the chopping block, but there's really nothing any of us would rather do, oddly enough.
You mentioned that there's a part of you that wants to get one last wrestling match in at some point, but you still use it in fighting. So it's not necessarily like a retirement from wrestling altogether. But at some point, I'm curious, because watching you and your son train during the episode, especially seeing the growth of some of these grappling events over the last couple of years, would you want to at some point compete on a grappling card, maybe on like Chael Show or something? You and your son, like you both have matches, or like a 2-on-2, you and him versus another mom and son duo. Is that something that might interest you at some point over the next few years?
That would be amazing. Yeah. And I mean, I go to wrestling practice every week. I even help out coach wrestling. So it's like, I get to see it. I get to use it. I have to use it specifically for that sport at times. So it's not like I'm far removed from it. It's just far removed from that competitive all in, looking forward to trials, looking forward to North American tournaments, looking forward to whatever. Like I just retired from the shoes basically, you know, and, I would love to get my retirement matches. I would definitely love to use it again. I mean, I get to use it, but like, you know, like you said, it would be fun to use it in a way that I get to tie up and, you know, send off in a way that I'm proud of, especially how like integral it was in my life and how important it was to get me where I am today. And, you know, my son is, you know, he's been doing wrestling since he was 3, you know, it's in our blood, and something I've never pushed on him. I've always just, you know, offered it as an option. And same thing with all these other things that he's ever done, was just as an option. And he targeted, and he always ended up coming back to that. So yeah, it would be cool. It would be cool. He's a good wrestler.
I do want to ask you about what's going on with your fighting career, because Scott Coker has said in some recent interviews that Bellator is targeting a fight between you and Cris Cyborg for the featherweight title sometime. He didn't give an exact date or a time frame, but it seems like they're targeting like the first half of the year. And he said in one of these interviews that you reached out to him or the promotion and said, let's do this. I want to fight Cris. So I'm curious if that's the case. And if so, how confident are you that your next fight will be with Cris Cyborg for the title?
So Cris and I have been calling each other out for probably a decade at this point. The fight I had with Megan Anderson, I was actually told to train as the alternate if anything happened between Cris and Amanda, and they needed someone because Amanda couldn't fight or whatever, that I would be fighting Cris for the title on that fight. And because I was training anyways, they just gave me Megan on the undercard in case, just in case. So that was an almost, we've had these other conversations. She's called me out since I've been at Bellator. I've called her out since I've been at Bellator, but it always seemed like crickets afterwards. So this, year, I've got a couple fights there. She's defended her title a few times. I've heard from them as well, like, but it doesn't ever happen. I don't know. So I've been waiting. I believe it's going to be this year. I'm excited and ready and active and training to be very active this year. I know that I've confirmed I'm fighting March 11th. I don't have an opponent confirmed and I don't have a location confirmed, but they, told me I can start getting ready and I can start training my butt off and I can, be prepared for that day and just kind of waiting for some news. So we'll see. But I do plan and hope that fight is this year. If it's not this next fight, at least something close. I got 2 more on my contract.
So March 11th, but you're just not sure what yet. Like, are you feeling like it's not for the title?
I don't know.
You're not sure.
I don't know. They've offered me other people, even though they were already saying that on the news, which was a little weird to me. So, we'll see. I obviously, no, everybody wants it. Sorry. This is the quadruple duty. It's the Malinois in the room. But yeah, so we'll see. They're talking about it. I know management is all talking about it. I don't know. I'm just getting ready. I'm ready for whatever. I want that. I'm sure it will be this year, but I'm not positive whether or not it's the next one.
Fair enough. I'm sure you've seen and heard about this many times by now, and I'm sure maybe this is kind of factoring into things, but one of the big questions heading into this year is the fighting future of Kayla Harrison. Will she stay with PFL? Will she go to the UFC? Will she go to Bellator? And if she does go to Bellator, will they just throw her right into a title fight with Cris? And Kayla was at her last defense, which a lot of people felt you should have been in there for. Sinead Kavanaugh got the title fight, and that's whatever happened. She was mentioned on the broadcast. Kayla's at the UFC event, so I know she's got a million options here. But does this concern you at all, or do you feel like whether she signs with Bellator or not, you're going to fight for the title this year regardless?
I know I'm fighting for the title this year regardless. Like, I do know that. I don't know. I just keep hearing Kayla is a lot bigger than 145. So I don't know what that means. If she comes in, that's awesome. And, know a few people that would probably like to welcome her, myself included, but, she's all over the place as far as her name right now. And that's exciting. She's obviously a badass and, putting in the work. So, if she gets in there, she gets in there. I have no idea. I don't know what they're doing with her either.
Fair enough. And I feel like the stars are aligning, you and Cris getting in there finally. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Cris, the resume is amazing. One of the greatest to ever do it. Still performing at a high level, champion of the world. You've been in there with everybody at this point. Ronda, Juliana Pena, who's a champion now. You have wins over Misha. You have wins over Amanda Nunes. Your resume is incredible as well. Mm-hmm. If this fight does get made and you go out there and you beat Cris Cyborg and you get that title wrapped around your waist, what would that mean to you?
This purpose, this whole journey, it means I figured it out. Everything that, was the meaning of MMA to me was seeing everybody that was out there and wanting to figure them out. Even when I've had my hard times, even when going through hell, I still got to hang on to that. Like, this is mine. I've worked on it my whole life. I will figure it out, even through the trenches, even through the hard times. Like, this is what I have. And on top of it, I have a kid watching and I want to show him how to get through it. And, it's, it's not always my best performances, but I look at those performances and I also know what's wrong and I know what was going on in my life outside of it. And I know that some of these things aren't indicative of my, the way I showed up that night. And I really do think I can beat all these girls. And I really do think that I am figuring it out and I am getting to a place where I've healed and where I'm smart and I'm training ready for anything instead of trying to run into a wall as hard as I can, because that's, what makes you tough in your early stages of fighting. And, I have my coaches figured out. I have my camps figured out. Like, it's pretty smooth. And, other than having to deal with life stuff alongside, I feel right and I feel ready. And this is what I've been working for forever.
Last thing, and then I'll let you go. I get a million things going on. Like we talked about, you've been in there with everybody at this point, the who's who of women's MMA. You've had this incredible career. You're having this resurgence with Bellator for titles, on the cusp of fighting for another one.
Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good.
No. And he's running around with my pajama pants in his mouth. They're bored. I'm sorry.
So I guess to wrap this up, what items do you still, outside of becoming a world champion, of course, do you still?
No.
What items do you still feel you want to check off the MMA bucket list, if you will, that you haven't already outside of becoming a champion?
I just feel like I have a bit of stubbornness, especially with the fights that I've lost, where, I know what was going on in my life. I know how my body and my brain were acting. And like, I just feel like I would like to avenge losses. I would even... Come here. No. I would come here. No. Stop. No. Both of you.
There they are.
All right. Double fisted. I'm good. Okay. I would like to avenge losses. I would even like to avenge bad performances, and just show up in a way that I'm proud of and walk away in a way that I'm proud of. And so some of that, and especially after I had that surgery the year before last, like my body is so much healthier, and I have just all this energy, and my physiology worked itself out. And, it would be a lot easier for me to make 135 now. And that, when I go over and I watch the UFC and I see Juliana Pena beating Amanda, and I see all these other people that I fought, and like, I just, there's a lot of unfinished business, it feels like, to me over there. Do I want to do that? I don't know. I have 2 more fights on this contract, and I'm very committed and loyal to this contract. I'm very excited about the 145 division at Bellator. There's a lot of awesome girls here, and they're badasses, and we all deserve to fight each other. Styles are all mixed up, and I want that title, and I want to fight the best of the best there. Realistically, it's I guess it's the oyster. The world is the oyster as far as MMA goes, and as long as I'm feeling good, and as long as I'm loving it, as long as I'm winning, like, and having great days in the practice room, I just want to see what I can do. I want to find my ceilings and my walls.
Well, we look forward to seeing what 2022 brings you inside the cage. Again, it's on the Whistle YouTube page. Check out Double Duty featuring Cat Zingano, her journey as a fighter through wrestling and being a parent as well. And it's really well done. Cat, thank you for the time. I know you got a million things going on. You get your hands full with the pooches, so you got to pick up the kid at school. A lot of things going on in your life. So thank you for spending some time with us, and all the best to you. Happy New Year, and look forward to seeing you March 11th against whoever you end up competing against.
All right. Thank you.